Welcome to May. We are going to be discussing in this month our theme of housing. Now, here's the main points of the rental process and the things that you need to have before you get ready to leave the nest. Debbie?
Hi, guys. Debbie back again. All right. Some of the things I just want to cover are just like some of the basics to get started before we get into detail. Housing 101, it covers the fundamentals of renting, buying, and finding affordable housing, focusing on financial preparation and navigating available assistance programs. The key components include assessing readiness for homeownership, understanding mortgages, exploring subsidized housing such as Section 8, and identifying emergency resources. Assistance is managed through local public housing agencies. I'm going to go into some rental basics that everybody needs to be aware of. Search and budgeting. Research your options that fit your budget to avoid cost burdening. If your friends are living in an expensive place, and you can't afford it, don't go. Utilize online research like HB 101 or contact local social services for housing assistance, including Section 8 vouchers or public housing. Tenant rights. These are things you definitely need to know, especially in California. Understand the terms of your lease, which legally binds you to the landlord. Is there anything you want to put on that? Because then I'm going into Homeownership 101.
Yeah, well, first of all, I forgot to introduce myself. Jenn Lin, I just got so excited about the topic because I mean, who wants to live at home forever? Everybody wants their own space eventually to be able to do things your way, decorate your way. And there's a lot to consider. And I have a 5-point game plan: the financial foundation, the hunt, the logistics, independence, because nobody's going to come to save you once you're on your own. You need to have these things considered in the safety and security. And we've covered many of these things in the previous episodes from September when we first started this whole season, The Great Escape. And we've discussed a lot of these things with responsibility. Debbie, I think it's interesting that you brought up the ownership. I didn't consider that point. So I'm excited to see what you come up with, especially because you're a homeowner. So you would know those things. I'm not a homeowner yet, but I'm getting there and I plan to be there very soon. I'm excited to see.
Dude, I'm excited for you.
And hopefully we'll be neighbors.
Okay. So renting basics, research the options that fit you. Oh, I did this. Wait a minute. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Homeownership 101, readiness, assess financial health, including savings for a down payment, credit scores, and debt to income ratio. Don't live above your means. The process involves pre-qualifications, pre-approval for a mortgage, hiring a real estate agent, and securing financing. You need to set up these basic things first because you cannot be shown houses if you're not ready to buy because they will go real fast. So you have to be ready to go. And I know sometimes that's a catch 22. I was caught in between two houses when I moved into the house I'm in now. But luckily, everything worked out for me. The people that were buying my house gave me an extra month. You got to make sure that when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. Affordable housing and assistance, a federal program, Section 8. Housing Choice Vouchers. It's a program helping low income families or people pay rent in the private market, usually managed by local public housing agencies. Subsidized housing. This is government funded. It's reduced rent apartments to manage by private landlords or agencies. Do research when you're moving in. Do your research because once you sign that lease, you're mandated for the 12 months that you're going to stay. You can't break your lease unless it's
Yeah, I've
something
had that
so
before,
totally.
actually, Debbie.
Yeah.
The subsidized with the lower rent, and
Mhm.
there's a few considerations on those things too. I remember, and like they really control the thermostat. You don't have
Oh,
complete control over. So when it's
yeah.
super hot, they don't let the air go over a certain amount. And when it's cold, they don't let the heat go up to a certain amount. So when you're in those controlled places, those are some things to consider.
And don't be afraid to ask questions because that's how you're going to get your answers. HUD homes. These are properties owned by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, often available for sale to the public. Now, these are good too, because a lot of times these go for less than half the price of what the house would originally sell for. But you got to understand on these, there's usually fixer uppers. If you can put a lower amount down to get into your home and have a low mortgage, you can do the fixing at your rate and what you want to do. These are things to consider because I rather do what I want to do and not be told, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. Make sure that you're thinking of this way in advance because you need to save up a nice piece of change for any of this. Key resources, hudhud.gov for finding local housing authorities, 211.org for immediate local housing crisis, and HB 101 that offers tools for renters and buyers. Depending what situation you're in, each one of these resources will be very good to look up and get all your information before you start approaching rental places or answering ads for apartments. Understanding the rental process, it involves researching, budgeting, touring, and submitting a rental application with supporting you prove your income and usually your credit report. They want to know that if you're moving in there, you can afford to live there. If you've got bad credit and your income doesn't make up what your rental price is, then you're going to be either paying bills or paying that. And
Yeah.
I've seen too many people got in over their heads and then they lose their place because they can't afford to do the things, especially young people today. Everybody wants to go and have fun and do things and be like everybody else. But if your income isn't substantial, you're not going to be able to do that. So you may have to use a rental for a stepping stone and forego some of the things that you want but don't need.
That even goes for renting a room. They want credit checks and all that kind of stuff because they don't want to be stuck with somebody who's not paying the bills. Or you get roommates and things like that. They want you to be able to pay for your stuff. When I own my house, nobody is going to be living in my house. I've already determined that for this reason. Sometimes the rules go against you, and that if you rent to somebody or if they even receive mail at your house, you can't even evict them because they're receiving mail at your house and they seem to have more rights than you do. So it's a big risk for them to be able to rent to you because of the laws. They're going to want to make sure that they have somebody that's going to be credible to be able to stay there, that you're not going to be a problem.
I had thought about I had a home that had a pool and I had a pool house. I was going to convert it for visiting nurses. But then it comes down to what if they bolt before they pay their last rent? What if they destroy the place? Not everybody takes care of a house the way I do, and I'm a perfectionist. So I don't want to go in and then spend $3,000 fixing up what you messed up. If you do something with it, going to live with you, you're going to also be paying their utilities too because you'll charge them a base price. But then, say they're a person that likes to take hour-long showers, you're going to be paying for the hot water heater for that and the regular water for that. So these are things take into consideration, and you won't have your privacy.
My mom rented a house for a little bit in Moreno Valley. That didn't last very long at all because within 3 months, they completely trashed it. She had it fixed up really nice. She got it low price. She was going to rent it out, thought that would be a nice income. Within 3 months, they had pets. They trash it, urine on the carpets. It was complete trash. And she's like, she didn't want any part of it, I think.
And that's the thing, if you ever even contemplate doing that, get yourself a rental agency, a property management. They come to the house every month and check outside, inside your property, landscaping to make sure everything is okay. And they'll report back to you. They'll also report back if they find that there's other people living in the house and they haven't reported that. So if you're going to rent out your house, make sure get a property management and they'll take care of all the hassles for you. Some key steps include signing a legally binding lease agreement. paying upfront costs. So usually you pay your first, last, and a security deposit. And conducting a pre-move-in walkthrough. You don't want to rent something sight unseen, and you want to make sure if it's a property management or the owner of the home, as you do your walkthrough, they're with you so you can say, oh, there's a scratch here. Oh, there's a dented piece of molding. You want to make sure everything is documented so when they come back, when you move out, they don't say, oh, well, there's an, you go, well, that was there when I
You don't
walked
get your
through.
security deposit back.
And sometimes the security deposit, they can make it as high as your rent. Key aspects to the rental process: budgeting and preparation. Ensure your rent is about 25 to 30% of your gross monthly income. Now, that sounds like a low amount, but you got to think about that when you're paying that. Remember, when you rent, your rent will always go up. You'll get the first year and then the second renewal. Oh, it went up this amount of money. Make sure you can cover what it is and make sure that you're stable in your job. Because if not, you're not going to be able to do this.
They're always going to be doing renovations as an excuse to raise the rent. If you see something new going up, expect your rent to go
Oh,
because they're going to pass that cost on to you. They're going to do a small improvement to be able to raise the rent hundreds of dollars.
key aspects of the rental process would be what you're going to need: pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, photo ID, and references. Today, people, they move in and then they homestead you, and it takes forever to get them out. So you want to make sure that you can verify all these statements and make sure that you realize that, okay, they can pay it. Your application and screening: submit a completed application requiring a screening fee for background and credit checks. This process typically takes 1 to 3 business days. So it's a good thing because they know and you know you're good for this property that you want to rent. You can afford it and they know they'll get their payment. Your lease agreement: review the contract carefully for rent amount, lease term. Is it a year, 6 months, 2 years? A lot of times people feel when they rent something, they don't have to fix anything. And that's not true. If you break something in the house that you broke, you're responsible for it. If a water pipe breaks or your heater breaks, then the landlord is responsible for that. So make sure you know what you're responsible for. Upfront costs: you prepare for security deposits, first, last month's rent, and sometimes condo association fees. When you're renting, those fees are paid by the landlord. So it's included in your rental price. So if you go, "Oh, this is high," and it's like, well, okay, yeah, but because you can use the pool, the tennis courts, the jacuzzi, the game room, and all that, this is part of the HOA. Otherwise,
Pass that on to you.
yes, because they're not living there. So why should they pay the HOA? And people will go, well, I'm not going to use that stuff. Baloney. You'll use it. And trust me, it's worth your while. And move in, document the property's condition with photos on day one.
The photos.
I'm talking about even the minuscule things like light sockets or doorknobs and the doorbell. Check all your pipes. You want to go into and under everything in your house, under your
Because they're going to do
cabinets.
the same thing when you move out. When you get ready to move
Exactly.
out, they will be nitty gritty like that on everything. And if you're not, you're going to end up paying for it.
And pictures, you can write stuff down, but do that. And then also add a photo album next to it of all the things that you've documented. Show the proof. This way, you're saving your own behind because today, everybody, it's a big sue happy world now. Everybody's going, yeah, I'll take you to court. I'll take you to court. And they can take you to small claims court. At small claims court, you don't need an attorney. So make sure that you don't get stuck going to small claims and you have nothing to prove. Like Judge Judy says, is it written? Then it wasn't done.
It never happened.
Right. That's so true because they'll never. And I have rented while I was waiting for a house to be done. And this house that we rented, it was a brand new home. It still didn't have the patio put in and they rented it out. And I had to pay a pet deposit for my cat. We moved into the house. They promised stuff that was going to be fixed. It got to be 3, 4 months out and nothing was done. And I'm living without blinds. And I was like, that's it. We're leaving. And I want my pet deposit back. And They were like, well, you can't get your pet deposit back. I'm like, my pet didn't do any damage. So that deposit was to cover damages, not just because the pet was living there. Well, I ended up, I had to take them to small claims court and I did get my money back because the judge said, yes, if you can prove that cat damaged things in the house, then you have an option to say, no, we won't give it back. But if you have no proof, which they didn't, my cat didn't have any claws. There was no way my cat was going to tear up anything. We had to go to small claims court to get it back. And then we also got back extra for our time and suffering. So be wary of promises people make. Promises can be broken. And document, 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 and photo, 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 photo. And you clear yourself for when something comes up. And that's all I have on basics of Housing 101.
I have as my 5-point game plan the budgeting financial foundation with budgeting. And if you want to know about budgeting, you can go back and watch the April episode. We go into detail on that, tracking your income, all your expenses, because it's not just the rent. You have to figure out how much your other expenses with living so that you can pay for all of those things, your gas, your expenses to live in addition to your rent. And if you can't afford all of those things, and for emergencies, you're not ready to move out yet. You might want to consider even just for a room to be
Yeah.
able to rent a room. What it costs to rent a room here in California, I'm paying. I remember when I first moved out, Debbie, my apartment was $400 and
Yeah.
the luxury apartments were 900. Here in California, they're asking for $1,500 for a room.
Yep.
And you can't even get a room for even $800.
Ah.
I did see one in LA, but guess what? For $800, you don't even get your own room. And a lot of times the rent is included. So that's one of the benefits while you're sorting things out and figuring where you want to live, but you don't want to live at home. That is an option. And these are some things that we're going into this whole month for you to consider. So if you want to be like, oh, I just need to get away and feel like I'm on my own, these episodes, these 4 talks are going to go into that. But that first thing, like I said, finances is what you want to consider. The upfront costs. Debbie had mentioned saving for your first month's rent, those deposits. If you want pets, you need to have those pet deposits and insurances. Some places, even for storage, they make you have mandatory renter's insurance.
Yeah.
We
So
have
it should be mandatory for all renters because it saves you in the long run.
And we have in one of our past episodes, we go into insurances. So
Yeah.
go back to those episodes on insurances. We went into all of that. Build your credit history. The score wasn't a big thing, but if you want things in society, rent, money, loans, even to get a job now, some jobs check your credit scores because they want to make sure that you're a credible person. What's sad is that if you don't have credit, you're not established, even though you don't have bills, you don't have debts. If you don't have any cards or whatever, you're not in the credit system, that works against you
Oh,
as
definitely.
even though you're responsible, you pay cash for all your stuff, you pay for what you can afford, that'll go against you. If you don't have some sort of credit history that's in the positive, you might not be able to even rent a room because they want to know that you're going to be good for the money. They
Right.
don't want to worry about kicking you out later. That's financial
And
foundation.
I would do the same thing. I'd want to know when you're renting, hopefully you're renting with the idea and the goal. I'm doing this to save money to buy my own place. Don't rent so high that you can't afford to put anything away and buy your own place. If I rent at this price here, I really can put away $500 a month. Okay, it may not seem like a lot, but a couple years, and guess what? You got a beautiful down payment.
It is a point in the process about the
Yes.
housing. Points to consider would be your location, your lifestyle,
What's that?
location. You want a neighborhood that fits your budget.
Right.
You commute to work and school. Do you want a lively lifestyle in the city? You have to know yourself. Are you quiet? You want peace and quiet? Depending on your lifestyle, your vibe is going to depend on where you live. And also with the price of gas, I saw gas out here is almost $6 again.
Oh my God.
I'm very glad that I decided I'm in the moving process myself right now because I don't want to commute anymore. I did 3 years of commuting and then with the crazy freeways out here and the time. So it's time, gas, all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Come April 1st, I'm only going to be 10 minutes away. So I'm not going to
Nice.
spend as much gas. It is a little bit more rent than I'm paying now, but
But you're going to be saving in the other areas.
I'm going to get almost a whole complete work shift every week just in commuting time alone. So
Yes.
these are some things you want to consider when you're house hunting. You don't want to commute if you don't have to. Sometimes the money isn't worth it. That was my situation. I needed to have a job and I needed something that I enjoyed. And so I was willing to make the commute for that. After 3 years, I've lived frugally on a budget. There's ways that you can still have fun and
Yeah.
do what you can save money. You just don't need to be spending. And this is my reward. I get to move closer. Your lease literacy. Debbie mentioned that you need to read the entire lease agreement and understand the rules and subtitles. You need to understand about guests. Can you have people over? People don't want guests. They don't want your people in there overnight. They don't want guests visiting at all or very limited. Even if you're renting your own apartment, if they're there for so many days, they're going to consider that living there. So, almost like those countries where they have to leave and come back so that they're not considered residents.
Mhm.
The same thing applies for renting. So, you
Yeah.
really need to keep these things after 3 days, your guests are dead fish, from that whole thing, and that's the way most renters consider it too. They don't want long-term guests.
No.
And then the penalties,
These topics we're going to be going into further in our next talk.
100%. And then maintenance and what the landlord covers, and then your roommate readiness if you're considering roommates, which that will be a complete separate discussion
Oh,
for us.
yes.
Having frank discussions about the budget, cleanliness, gas, and how you're going to split the bills and how you're going to split the work. That'll be another discussion.
I'm sure you do because you've
Oh my
done.
God. Yeah. Living with the people that you don't know and having to make it work. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to my solo lifestyle without having to share with anybody. Well, yeah, but it takes responsibility. It just doesn't happen. If you don't want to live with mommy and daddy for the rest of your life, you need to man up, woman up, and get responsible. These are all the points that we're bringing up. So that's the second point. The logistics. That's your third thing you want to consider. Time, tasks. When you decide, you find your place, you're gonna need to put things into action, your
Right.
timeline. I remember Debbie just finished moving. I'm moving now. Your moving timeline, your key tasks, setting up forwarding mail with the post office, transferring or setting up your utilities in your name. If you're purchasing, buying, you're gonna have to cut off the lights at the place that you're renting now and establish all your electricity things over in the new place. You
Right.
don't do that on a certain timeline. You don't have electricity or heat because they want things. And sometimes your landlord might want those things turned on ahead of time, or the place that you're leaving, they want notice. The electricity utilities companies want that same notification. And if you don't do it right, you're going to be left without anything. And that's not fun. Thank God I
Yeah.
was never put in that situation, but I know people that have. And then updating your address with your banks, your employer,
Right.
and the DMV. And also inventory your essentials. Make a list of what you have, what you need to buy for your new place, shower curtains, toilet plungers, basic tools. The things that are cheap and indispensable, I would just throw those out. And there's no sense in toting things junk along. You don't want to throw away things that you can use, purge all the things that you're not using, regift, sell. And that's what I've been doing. That list of things that I know I'm going to take. And as I'm going through things, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I could use that at the new place, but why am I going to buy that now? I'm going to
Right.
wait until I get there to get those things. There's no sense in buying things now, more things to move. I'm gonna wait and get those things when I'm there. I'll get them here, find good homes for them here, and it's less to move. Packing strategy, decluttering first, packing room by room, labeling your boxes clearly by room. So that way, when you unpack, it's much easier. What I've always done is have a day one box with essential toiletries, phone charger, change of clothes, maybe basic kitchen needs so that you can make your meal. And that's what I've always done. So it's almost like when you go to a hotel, but that would be your day one box. That way, you don't have to feel that pressure to unpack everything all at once. You can still function and go to work without too much headache. Do you ever want to add on that point, Debbie?
Only one other thing to consider. If you own a car and you have a nice car and it's your baby, check out what the parking is at the place you're renting. You have to park on the street.
Oh my God.
I would never put my car on the street. If they had a carport, like apartments, they'll have in front of a row of apartments, 2 spots for each tenant. Some of them have the lean-tos over it, which is good. But I know how I feel about my car. I know you too, Jen, about your car. I don't want my car sitting out in the sun on the street while I'm busy, or if I'm out with friends and I don't know, is somebody gonna break into my car? So you gotta think about this. What's the parking deal? And if it's like, well, you can park your car here, but it costs you. Find something that doesn't cost you because probably you haven't budgeted that in.
Well, exactly. And then some places in Orange County, if you don't have a permit on your car, LA too, if you don't have a sign on your car, they tow it away automatically because the parking is so limited. Even if guests go to visit, uh, people in the house, they have to give you a pass, a parking thing to put on your car so that they don't come and tow it away. And so people will take up all your parking spots for the people that live there.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
bless this round, Debbie, I got a garage. I get to garage my car. Yeah, so I'm super happy about that. But yeah, and then there's another place that I lived at. They're like, "Oh, well, you can park your car right here, but you can't park it there in front of somebody else's house," which I think is so it's like it's a public street. You should be able to park where you want. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "It's the street." That driveway is their personal thing.
Because if you got people that have friends and they're taking your parking spots, you come home from a hard day at work. Now you're trying to find a spot.
Private homes give a driveway to park your
Yeah.
car. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, like
Well,
those
nobody better be parking in anybody else's driveway because if it was mine, I'd
right.
have you towed away.
If a driveway and a garage, people that are parking in the street should be able to park where they want. If I'm visiting somebody, try to park the closest, but sometimes parking's not available there. So I'm going to park wherever I can that's closest to the house, whether it's in front of somebody else's house or not. I'm not parking in their driveway and it's on the public street. But one thing I do want to bring up too is that some places have street washers certain days. And if you don't move your car into the driveway or it's on the wrong side of the street, you get a ticket. A lot of money. That's another thing you want to consider for logistics. The independent shift, that's the fourth point. Domestic life skills. Be prepared to handle cooking, cleaning, laundry, your basic home maintenance, like being able to unclog a drain or reset a circuit breaker. We haven't gone into it yet. June, we're going into laundry. Some that people don't think about a lot. You get on your own, you gotta wash your clothes, gotta iron them. You gotta be able to cook. There's gonna be another episode. That's gonna be our July episode. King, being able to survive eating on your own at
Right.
home, because I'm sure you're not gonna be able to go out and eat every single day because you got all these bills to pay. So you're going to be eating at home a lot and you're going to need to know what you need to have.
Uh-huh.
Those will be future episodes. So that independent shift, you're going to have to be a jack of all trades.
When we get there, we'll discuss that.
Oh,
We want to stay on track, but
yeah.
to topic, just like to bullet point those things to let people know what's coming and the
Yep.
descriptions. And
Time responsibility management. Now you are the boss of your own schedule and obligations. You need to balance your work, your chores, your social life, and your downtime. All of these are going to be a new thing to master. Plus, so you're going to have to do life and you're going to have to do you. And guess
right,
what? You still have to do all of these things and go to work at the same time. So
Exactly.
that means on your 2 days off, you're going to be doing doctor's appointments and trying to maintain your social skills. Do you think you're going to have a lot of time to be going out, being an adult? You can do that, but you need to know how to manage your time. Mental preparedness. Moving out is a major emotional transition. And it is normal to feel excited, anxious, lonely, overwhelmed. You want to have a plan for staying connected with your family and building that support system. That is our fourth point. And we went through a lot of this stuff with connections and relationships. Debbie, do you have anything else to add on this fourth point?
My only on move in, document the property's condition with photos on day one and ensure all your utilities are transferred. That's all I have to say.
And that fifth last thing, we have safety security. Again, we did a whole episode last fall on
Right.
that for personal safety, getting to know your neighborhood, your financial safety with identity theft. We went into that April. Go back to the April episode.
Yes.
And emergency preparedness. We did that again last fall. Those are some things that you want to consider. I believe that we are done with the whole housing process. And
We've given you the nitty gritty, and now the next time we talk, we're going to be getting into each area specifically and giving tips on how to do it, how to make your life easy, and what's important and what's not. So, on that note, I'm going to say, I will see you next time. Stay safe. Bye.
If you're all about staying curious and having fun, you're in the right place. Follow us here, the Unpopular Playground. Share this with your young adult and high school friends. Reach out to us on Insta at Unpopular Playground 1791 with your questions. Or to say hi. Stay curious and see you next